Are you a solo female planning on traveling or teaching abroad? In this video, I'll share 10 tips to keep you safe when traveling or living in a foreign country. Make sure you stay until the end to find out how I've kept myself safe as a solo female teaching abroad for the past 11 years. My first tip for solo female travelers teaching or living abroad is that you need to do your research on the countries you're going to be traveling to or the place where you're going to be teaching before you get there. It's really important to take a look at the different cultural differences that you may encounter and be prepared for them. To give you an example, the place that I've lived that was the most different from my American culture was Egypt. I chose to cover up most of my body when I was out of my house. I covered up to my neck, my wrists, and my ankles. And I did this out of respect for the culture. Of course, it's up to you and you can make your own decisions, but I did this and I avoided a lot of different harassment because of it. So just make sure that you know what it's like to be in that other culture and some of the cultural differences before you move to that foreign country. My second tip for staying safe as a solo female traveler is to make sure you register with your embassy and give your contact information to friends and family back home. For example, you can register with the embassy to get different alerts. I've lived in 6 different countries now, and I've gotten different alerts about protests, natural disasters. Also, they remind you when the elections are, so you remember to vote. I had to be evacuated from Egypt, so I got a message about getting evacuated. So you never know what's going to happen when you're living in another country, and it's just really important to make sure that your embassy knows that you're there, and then you can get all of that important information. I also recommend giving your family and friends your home phone number if you have one, your foreign cell phone number in your new country, and contact information for the school you are at, or if you're staying at a hostel or a hotel. If you have flatmates or roommates, give your family those numbers as well. As many people to contact as possible, because you never know what's going to happen, and it's better safe than sorry. Before we get to the next point, I just want to let you know that if you need any extra help getting started teaching abroad or online, then just fill out my survey, which is linked down below. My third tip for solo female travelers abroad is safety in numbers, and I'm sure you've heard this before. This just means that if you're going out to a large festival, maybe you're going out at night, it's better to go with a group of people, especially a group of people that you trust. Of course, this is difficult if you're traveling around and you don't know anyone yet. So my advice is to go with a group of people from the hostel, or if you're at a place and you don't know anyone, look for a group of females and see if you can make some friends and join their group. It's always better to be with a group of people than to be singled out. My fourth tip for solo female travelers abroad is to know where your ID documents are at all times and to keep your cash and cards in different spots. No matter if you're actually living in a country because you're teaching there or you're just traveling through, you always want to make sure you know where your passport is, your driver's license, and any other important documents that you have. Definitely, if you're ever on a bus or a train or a plane, make sure that you do not put your passport or important documents above you in the seat. I know many people who have had their documents stolen because maybe they fell asleep, or honestly, they didn't even know when it was stolen, it just was. There are a lot of different products that you can buy to hide your passport and valuables on your body, and I highly recommend using those. And as far as keeping cash and cards on you, keep it in several different spots. You don't want to keep everything all together because, again, if you're robbed or your things are taken, then you're kind of in trouble and screwed. What you need to do is put your cards in one spot, or maybe separate cards, some in your backpack, some in your purse, some cash here and there and there. There are lots of different products that you can buy, like scarves with hidden pockets for cash. Stick it in your shoe, get creative, but definitely don't keep it all in one spot. My fifth tip for solo female travelers abroad has to do with locks. So let's talk about if you're teaching abroad first. If you're teaching abroad, you're probably renting an apartment or a room or a house. And you need to make sure that you are the only one that can access this apartment. And if you aren't, you need to make sure that you know who can. I have heard of some situations where people have come home from a long day of work at school only to find a random person in their house. Maybe it was the landlord's brother or cousin or a completely random person. So if you are feeling that maybe this situation is a little bit unsafe, then just go ahead and change all the locks. That way you're going to know exactly who has access to the apartment because it's only going to be you. Now, if you are traveling around, always make sure to lock the door where you're staying. And there is also a product that you can buy that's a kind of door stopper to keep people from entering into your room, which is also a very important safety issue for solo female travelers. I'll put a link for this product and other products that I recommend for solo female travelers in the description box down below. My sixth tip for solo female travelers abroad is not a very nice or comfortable one, but it's that you should expect some street harassment, especially if you look different. I've experienced a lot of catcalling and harassment, being followed in different countries, and it's never fun. To give you an example, when I was in Costa Rica, the police catcalled me from the police car. So you can imagine if the police were catcalling me, all of the other people that were constantly harassing me. I also had a situation in Egypt where this random guy was following me, so I quickly started walking and turning corners trying to lose him. At one point I thought I had lost him, and then he just like popped out of nowhere and started saying random things again. So just be aware that this does happen. It's never comfortable. I usually just end up kind of ignoring the person, or if I do know the foreign language, I will start yelling at them saying like, go away, leave me alone. My seventh tip for solo female travelers abroad is to get a theft-proof bag or purse. These usually have different ways to lock the zippers. There may be secret compartments, and sometimes they even have metal woven into the fabric, so they're difficult to cut. And I would show you the one that I have, but I actually ended up selling it when I moved from Spain to Australia because luckily Australia is quite safe and I haven't really had to use it. But I did use that bag in Spain, Costa Rica, France, Egypt, use it in the US as well. If you're going to be traveling around or living in a place that has lots of pickpocketing or higher crime rates, then I do recommend investing in one of these bags, and I will put some links for similar products down below. My eighth tip for solo female travelers abroad is not to take those early trains, planes, or buses. I know it's tempting because the prices are usually a lot better if you're arriving early or late, but there is some safety risk involved. I had a friend who arrived to the Cairo airport very early in the morning, and she was about to take what she thought was a taxi, but it was really part of a bad you-know-what ring of people. So luckily she was able to escape that, but you're going to be safer if you're not arriving to these places alone and waiting around by yourself. You want to go when there are a lot of people around, and that way these situations won't happen to you. So trust me, your safety is a lot more valuable than saving 20 bucks on a flight. My ninth tip for solo female travelers abroad is luckily one that I don't have to worry about anymore because I'm married. But if you're using dating apps abroad, you should be meeting these people in public places, in the daytime, and bringing along a friend if you can, just to kind of feel out the situation. Of course, you can have just as many issues using dating apps in your own country, but when you are living or traveling abroad, you have to consider that you don't really know the country or the area very well, and there is also the element of foreign language and misunderstanding. So just keep yourself safe, meet in these public places when you're getting to know this person at first, and that way you can avoid bad situations. And my last tip for solo female travelers abroad is to trust your gut. And this is the most important thing you can do to protect yourself when you are traveling or teaching abroad. There have been many situations where I begin to feel a bit uneasy, and I've immediately gotten myself out of that situation and then later discovered that that was a really good idea. You just want to be a bit in tune with yourself and your body to know when you're feeling uneasy, when you're feeling nervous, and if you're not sure, just act and get out of that situation as quickly as you can. This is one of the best ways to protect yourself and keep yourself safe when traveling or living abroad. I hope this video helps keep you safe when traveling or teaching abroad as a solo female. You can find me on Instagram at ESLteacher365, where I share how to live an adventurous life by teaching abroad or online. If you'd like to learn more about teaching abroad, then you can watch this video next.